If Masters of Home Service has been a game changer for you and your business, then we want to hear from you. Go leave us a review and tell us what you think. Help us build this community and level up together. If someone calls and says, I want to book a cleaning with you guys, what do you say? Go to the website?
No.
Or your VA will then just do it for them on the website.
Correct. I mean, you have someone on the phone. You won't let them go. Of course, you know that.
Of course, yeah. Welcome to Jobbers Masters of Home Service, a podcast for home service pros by home service pros. We are in sunny Las Vegas. Today we're talking about running your business from the beach, a guide to running your business remotely. I'm Adam Sylvester. Today's guests are Anthony Hartzog and Janilka Hartzog. They are the owners of Cleaning Business University, Maids to Match, and the hosts of More Than a Side Hustle podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Janilka, do you give us tell our listeners briefly like what you guys do and all that?
So we own a cleaning business down in Dallas, Texas, and it's a remote cleaning business because we do not do any of the cleaning ourselves, but we manage the side of the marketing, the business, getting the clients, that type of stuff. So.
Okay, so our listeners are like, run your business from the beach.
Yeah.
I'm consumed by my business. I work 80 hours a week. Is it possible? That's what they're thinking. I mean, a lot of our listeners are in that place. And so,
Yes.
is it possible to run your business from the beach or wherever you want to run it from, remotely? Is that possible?
It's absolutely possible.
Anything's possible.
There you
We've
go.
done
Do you
it
want to?
in Maldives and Dubai, and this is before we really had a full team in place to answer calls. Now we have people in place we have VAs in place that can answer the phone, so we don't need to be as involved. But yes, because it's remote, because we do everything from our phone and computer and laptop, you can do it from anywhere that can provide any cell service or Wi-Fi.
Okay, so let me clarify. Because anyone our age remembers Tim Ferriss's famous book, 4-Hour Work Week. Basically, just don't really work at all, basically.
Okay.
So you guys aren't necessarily saying go to Dubai and do nothing. You're just saying run your business from Dubai, do some work. Is that right? Like you're doing work just from a different location.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
So when we first tested out our business model, we actually went into this business model where we're saying we have a remote cleaning business. It was really just a cleaning business where we don't actually clean houses. Now it's 2024. The world has changed, and the word remote has been exasperated. So now we just say remote cleaning business. So essentially, we'll work with mom and pop shops who are going on and doing the cleaning, and that's the only part they're doing, and we're doing everything else in the business. Yeah. So we're not saying that you just don't run your business at all. We're saying you don't have to physically go out and be the face and brand and label of your business.
Yeah. We'll get to the face thing in a second, because I am curious about that.
Okay.
So your workforce is primarily or only exclusively subcontractors.
Yep.
Correct.
Outside of us, we're the only employees.
Okay, you're the only employees, and your daughter.
And our
right?
daughter, yeah.
And so you guys run your business, with an internet connection. And so you're hiring, recruiting new subcontractors. And who handles complaints? Someone doesn't clean the house right.
Right.
Who handles that?
So we're about to be 7 years in the business. So who handled it then versus who handles it now is completely different. So at that time, it was me.
Okay.
My background is like a mental health therapist. And so it just worked out that I would handle the angry clients. He would handle the tech side of the business. That's just how we separated strengths and weaknesses. Is how it would work. He was in IT, so it made sense. Now we do have an operation manager and 2 VAs in place. So we don't, at this point, hear as much complaints as we once would, unless it escalates that we need to hear it. At this point, we meet with our team once a week for about an hour. But then it was all coming to us on a Friday night, on Valentine's Day, I remember this distinctively, or on a Sunday, or in Maldives through my WhatsApp. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So it varied then versus now.
I think the challenge with local service business owners is that you feel like you have to be the one to do everything. So for us, we didn't feel like there was anyone who could handle a customer complaint as well as us, because we know our business, we know our customers, and we realized we actually don't really know them as much as we thought we did. And we could just give a script, give understanding of who they are and what they need help with. And we gave our teams parameters on how much you could refund or what's the policies here. And it was just more of us creating our SOPs for our business, where if this happens, you say and do this, and you can work outside these parameters as you see fit.
It's also setting up the client's expectations. If you answer the phone, you onboard them, you send them the quote, you book the job, you tell them it's gonna be great, and then you try to hand it off to they're gonna be like, whoa, I want to talk to the owner. What happened? But if they never see you, then they're not gonna expect to see you now.
Exactly.
Right? And it was
Okay.
No, I was going to say it was very specific times we would mention that we were the owner. Like if there was a complaint, I would say, okay, I got to take it back to management. I am the management, but I'll call you back in 10 minutes. But they don't know that. They just know that I'm taking it to management.
Right.
So there were scenarios like that. Absolutely. Very rarely I would say like, oh, I'm the owner, because then that can be slippery as well. Because then they try to tell you about your business. It just sometimes goes a different way. So yeah, we did face that sometimes, but I would just say like, oh, well, I have to take this up to management and get back to you and let you know what they decide.
Yeah.
So.
I really like y'all's perspective because it was a fresh perspective. A lot of people who grow up cutting grass and they become a lawn care company, they have such deep roots in the industry.
Yeah.
And so they do feel like they do everything you just said, like they have to address the complaints. They have to send the quotes. The quote has to be perfect and and everything has to be just right because they've been in the industry so long. You guys came in and I don't care what business it's going to be, cleaning houses, whatever it's going to be. And you guys just had a different perspective because you're like, we're going to be business owners. We're not going to be house cleaners. And so your perspective was like, we're going to run this business our way. We're not going to get in the weeds, so to speak. And so along with that came running the business, quote, faceless, without being the face of the company. Explain that a little bit.
So basically, like our name or pictures or anything aren't anywhere on the website. It's not, on our profile for Yelp or Google or anything like that. It just says, cleaning business in Dallas, Texas.
That's actually not true because when we got awards and recognition, they had to put it made better for SEO, search engine optimization.
Yeah.
So that's when we started putting
the
our Good Morning
regular
America
person,
and some stuff for Cancer Society and things like that. So that's when you kind of see our name and face and likeness. But
in the backlink.
It's very backlinked where it's not just.
It's not in the
Anthony
onboarding process.
No. And it doesn't need to be because we don't feel like I don't know what good that does for us to be the face of it, right? And so we do get students or people that are cleaners, like you said, and they feel like, no, I have to be the one cleaning.
Never do that.
Or like, how do I make sure the quality? How do I do these things? And I'm like, there's always someone better than you, one. But doing something different from you doesn't mean that it's going to be bad either. And so that's sometimes hard for people that's been in the business for 10 years or whatever, doing it themselves to kind of grasp around as well.
And along those same lines, I had a conversation with this woman probably could have been my grandmother's age. And we were talking about, she wanted to learn more about the way we ran our business. And we got to a point in the conversation where I said, I know, she actually came and said, Anthony, I understand what you're doing. I love it. But she said, I just can't grasp the understanding of me not doing those things. I've been doing this for longer than you've been alive. And she's like, I was like, eventually there's going to be a point where I was like, unfortunately, there's going to be a point where you can't do this anymore. And what happens to your business then? It dies, unfortunately. I said along with everything else, and she's like, I understand that. I've just been doing it for so long. And I said, if you could just outsource some of the work just to help you, whether it's the customer service or whether it's the emails, the marketing, just something where you're not having to do everything. And then if you get to a point where you decide to outsource your cleaning, then you get to a point where you can say, I'm going to take a day off, like the 4-hour work week or things like that. So we've had those conversations where it's just, we know it's not going to work for you and that's totally fine. But there's another way to do it. You guys are open to the conversation.
Yeah. I would say, I'd say there's like a kind of a middle ground with the whole face thing. I think, because I would say I'm the face of the company because we have TV commercials. That's, and I'm in those TV commercials. I wasn't at first because I resisted the face thing too because I didn't want people to be obsessed with Adam.
Make a decision, yeah.
And I've distanced myself a little bit from my business so that, because like when people call, they don't expect to find the owner,
That was my thing.
And if the owner answers, they're shocked, right? And so I think there's a middle ground where you can balance some marketing and being the face on a really high level. But if you call my company, you're going to get my staff because it's a company. And that's what companies do.
And you can play the owner card whenever you want.
Yeah, and if they say, yeah, exactly. You can play the owner card whenever you want to. Every now and then I can jump in and surprise somebody and they're related. Like, not that I'm special because I'm the owner, but I am actually.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, the owner called me. and it's kind of silly, but it's fun. And so I think there's a middle ground there if our listeners want to do like a hybrid. And I think you guys, we'll talk about this a little bit. If you guys ever wanted to do radio, TV, like you guys have mentioned in the past, then you might introduce yourselves in that way. But like your business won't change at all. The operations, you're never going to be part of the operations in that way. So okay. What do your VAs do? Your virtual assistants?
So they answer.
I'm trying to call them remote employees too.
Remote
that
contractors,
there's a stigma around VA. So
customer service reps.
Customer service reps.
You try to do that externally to like clients or just internally?
Internally, both.
Okay.
We just say customer service reps, but they are VAs.
They're your
Virtual
VAs.
assistants, people who are remote.
But they answer our phones, of course, and they do outbound calls, following up with leads. They do that, and they answer the leads that come in from maybe Yelp or Google, any of those places. They respond to that. They also assist our contractors if they need help getting into a home, or if there's an issue or address is incorrect. Those type of things they do primarily.
Yeah. Marketing, advertising.
Well, hold on. So, okay, yeah. So you jumped from answering the phone to marketing. Those are two very different things.
Yeah.
And so how do they do the marketing?
Yeah, so if we're running ads on Google, they're managing the like technically our operations manager is a virtual employee. She's remote. So
Okay.
she's doing the advertising on the Googles, the Yelp. If we're running any sort of ad, she's adjusting the marketing spend, she's adjusting the language, things like that. So when you think about the word virtual assistant, it has such a negative connotation. It's kind of like they're just people who are just not in your city or state helping you run your business and manage it. Our team who's been doing our search engine optimization, our SEO for 8 years, they're in Russia. I have such a close relationship with those guys. They're technically virtual employees or virtual remote assistants, and they've been doing this for so many years for us. So that's just the difference between the language.
Yeah.
But
Because there's levels to what we have. We have like what we consider customer service reps, and then we have an operation manager, which she's still a virtual assistant. So she would handle like the marketing, the very upset client, those type of things, and then the VAs under would handle like the phone calls, the lead generation, that type of stuff. So
Okay, I think I know a question all of our listeners are wondering. They're asking themselves. So I'll ask it for them because I'm here. Who prices? Who gives the price?
who says it
Who
or
gives
who
the
sets
bid?
it?
Who gives the bid?
So the way that we have it is everything is booked online.
Okay.
So all of our pricing is, you can see it online. If you're a customer, you go onto the website, you can see the pricing right away.
Okay, so
everything that
there
you
could be a
need.
whole episode on that. So because that's where the rubber really meets the road. Because a
Yeah.
lot of our listeners get hung up on like, but
I gotta
how do you
go out and buy it.
price?
I got
Yeah,
you. So
yeah.
we do flat rate pricing based off a bedroom and bathroom and
square
square
footage,
footage.
yes.
Now, if the person goes out, the contractor who goes out to the home, we also have it in our conditions and also in our booking system that says if the home is more work than expected, we have the
price you
ability
more.
to adjust the pricing as we
It's the
see
exact
fit.
same thing. Yeah.
So our contractor could say, "Hey, Anthony or Janoko," it won't be us, but we'll just use us. They say, "Hey, Anthony or Janoko, we got to this home. It's gonna be a little bit dirtier than expected." We'll say, "How many hours do you think it's going to take?" They would tell us, and then they would tell our teams, and our teams would tell the client, and the client can say, "Hey, that's totally fine," or we could do it at a hourly rate up to however much they want us to clean the home. So still, in that instance, we don't have to be involved in going out and doing the actual
bid.
labor or the bid.
Yeah.
So our contractors are our eyes and ears when it comes to the ground floor things, and they bring it back to our spaceship, our hub, which is our team.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the price is already set on the website.
Yeah, that's a huge. So if someone calls and says, "I want to book a cleaning with you guys," what do you say? Go to the website?
No,
Or your
we're-
VA will then just do it for them on the website.
Correct. I mean, you have someone on the phone. You won't let them go. Of course, you know that.
Of course. Yeah. You
won't
gotta
let them
fish on
go.
the line. You don't just cut the line.
So yeah, if you have someone on the phone, you go ahead and do it for them. But if some people, and that's the beauty of having it online, is that if ever we're closed, our business is open 24/7 because you can find us online and book us. You don't have to speak it to us to book the clean.
This is a great conversation. I'm going to do a quick pause here to talk about Jobber. I think Jobber really helps me unlock the full potential of my business with a couple things: online booking and all the integrations that Jobber has with other apps and all that. It allows me to automate a lot of my business. It also allows my clients to book jobs while my team is asleep. And so you need Jobber because you need to grow your business and unlock some of the things that you just can't do on pen and paper. So new users can get an exclusive discount at jobber.com/podcast deal, and go check it out, get a free trial, and get started today. Pricing is one of the biggest roadblocks for people getting out of their business. That, from my experience, talking to a lot of people, pricing is it, because now there are some industries that are better fit for than others. Linear foot, window cleaning. Well, how many windows do you have?
Yeah.
Floors, all that kind of stuff can be very linear and very predictable. There are some businesses that it is a little bit more gray area, but I would say it's probably not as gray as you think. I think a lot of I was this way too. I thought my pricing is so clever and it's so great and it could never be systematized. But it is now, and I got over that, and so, and also it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
Would you guys agree with that? Part of the magic is just letting go of perfection and being okay with good enough.
Yeah. And so we say that to our students. I'm like, you can adjust your pricing in 2 seconds. Like if,
Yeah.
if this thing is too high or if it's too low, you've noticed clients are saying things, contractors are saying things, you can simply just adjust your pricing. You're not married to this price. And then
Right.
even as inflation goes on and things change, you're going to change your pricing. So yeah, you can easily change it. You add on services, you take them away, things like that. It happens all the time.
Speaking of not being perfect, when we had our first daughter, we had about a month to get an operations manager in place because we still had remote employees, remote team members, but they were still coming to us on larger issues. So we said, if we could just get our operations manager just a fraction of what we think she needs to be at, she can handle those things, and we will be alongside her for any mistakes that happen.
How do you train them? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to think, oh, well, they just hired all these people from all over the world and they just could do it day one. It takes training.
It takes time.
Oh, yeah.
How do you train?
So I guess it depends on the person. A lot of people would have SOPs in place and then train the person. We were kind of backwards because we had a month and we're like, the baby is coming. So we were training and SOPing at the same time. So this person, operations manager, she was a manager for our VA business. And then we brought her to our cleaning business. So we trusted her and knew all that. And so in the process of training, we were SOPing as we went along. So we're like, make a SOP of this as we train you.
Can you give me an example?
So let's give a scenario, an upset client.
Okay.
So we would talk through scenarios and what to do, what to say, how much you can refund, when it's okay to refund the whole thing, if it is, though, like literally talking through scenarios. We trained her for about a month, 2 to 4 hours a day of just going over everything it was a brain dump, really.
Yeah.
Everything, because we were doing it, let's see, our child was born in 2022. We had started this business in 2017, and we didn't have anything really we had some things in place, but not as much as we should have. Yeah. So it really was a brain dump of things flowing out of our mind.
Oh, yeah, this. Oh, yeah, this. Oh, yeah, this.
Exactly. So it became like, okay, we know we need to have this in place. This is someone that could help us putting in place. So while we were training her, we were SOPing her and giving her the reins to do stuff. So that's the other thing. Like, you have to let go and know they're going to make mistakes and do things that maybe that's not how I said to do it. And you retrain them and they learn and refer back to the SOP. And so that's why we made it so important at that time, because we're probably going to be off the grid for a bit with a baby, with a new baby.
For the technical side of things, I would do things like a Loom video. So we would do a screen share on Zoom, and then we got off the Zoom, and it's like, oh, I do a lot of Loom videos, and essentially it's just a screen share, and it's literally documenting everything you're doing. So this is how you book a client. So I would go through, show my screen on Loom, and it literally records it, and it gives you a transcript of everything. And it's like, this is how you would book a client in a system. So we started doing things like that, and we said, I would rather Loom than having a Zoom meeting any day. So I would Loom the entire conversation and send it over to them, and like, okay, now we just Loom, transcribe, our team would take it, put it into the SOP document like Janoka said. That would be my version of the brain dump, because I don't want to be on the phone with you explaining it. I'd rather just talk myself through it. And
they can watch it 100 times if they want to.
Exactly.
So it's funny. I never used Loom. It's funny. And then I started using Loom. And I didn't know how I could live my life without Loom. like 24 hours
shows
later.
you how many time you saved on meetings when you send Looms off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, real quick, I'm curious. What other tech do you guys use? You use Slack, WhatsApp? How do you communicate? All that kind of stuff. I'm curious.
Yeah. We also use Slack to communicate with our team. What else do we use?
We use Basecamp. Basecamp is one of our larger platforms. Essentially, it's a
project
hub.
management.
Yeah, project
a hub
management.
of project management. Zapier is one where we just kind of do automations. New customer comes in, they go here. Slack, we use Yelp, Google Ads. Those are basics.
How do you guys ensure they do a good job?
The number one question.
Number one question.
How do we ensure they do a good job? I think you're talking about the contractors at the clean, correct?
I was, but I am now. I was. Let's talk about that first. But I am curious how you make sure your office virtual staff does a good job too. But let's talk about the infield staff too.
Okay.
First.
So one with that, we feel like the vetting process is.
Before you go into that,
what?
The question I would always ask back is, if you're not going to do the job, how do you ensure it gets done? So that's like, well, I would have to go out and do it myself. That's not always the case. So.
But yeah, so our vetting process, I would say, is where we start. So we get an influx of people, and the goal is really to not have everyone make it through, because we know everyone won't be good. So starting from the vetting process is a big thing. And then we do something called a test clean, where you would go to maybe a client, a friend's home, maybe about an hour, 2 hours. We see did you show up on time? How did you come dressed? What your supplies were? They would get paid for this. Like, how do we take feedback? That's another step for us before we put you in the field specifically. And then you being in the field, we get feedback from clients. We call, to this day, our VAs do, every single client that we service.
Okay, great.
And to find out how the cleaning was. And so it's so funny. We have students, they're like, yeah, I'd rather just text or email. I'm like, we said to call for a reason. Call is just a different touch point. Even to this day, we still have automations that go out to them.
Like what?
But like a text or email.
Okay.
But we find that calling them is one touch. Two, I can also catch you if you weren't happy before you get this email that
Review.
says to leave
Right.
a review. I can catch you right then and there on the call and see how I can rectify it. So that's why calling is so important for us. So when we call, we can hear feedback from clients of what they're saying about this person. And that's a lot of how we learn about how the person is and our communication with them when we provide feedback of the client said this or this didn't happen right. How do they take it? So that's how we do our QA, our quality assurance really is through the clients and through our vetting and our constant communication with our contractors.
And our hiring process is completely remote still. So let's say we have 100 employees that apply on Indeed.com. Then we have questions on the application that would say things like, if you're paying attention to this application, let me know what your favorite color is. And its favorite color has to be yellow. So they comment the word yellow in their application. 50% of the 100 people that applied, they're not even seeing that. So they're gone. Then after they actually apply, they meet the basic qualifications. Let's say they have 2 years of actual residential home cleaning experience. We do background check. We do insurance. They all have to have their own business liability insurances as well. They also have their own cars. They also have their own supplies. And then after they meet those basic qualifications, they have to then schedule their own interview with us. We're not going out and scheduling it with you. So now we're like, out of the 50, only 20 to 25 people actually do that part of it.
You're talking about Calendly? Like,
We do
how do they
Calendly.
book? Okay.
Yeah, so
all right.
they'll go through Calendly. They'll schedule their own interviews. And then from there, at the day of the interview, you have to respond and say you're just still interested in the job. So out of the 100 people, we only get 10 to maybe 15 people who actually make it to the phone call.
Yeah.
So out of the 10, 15 people that make it to the phone call to actually have the conversation with us, our operations manager, then out of those 10 to 15 people, they have to submit their reference checks.
Yeah.
They have to submit all their insurance, all the
ID,
background things.
all
So
that
out of those
type
10,
of
15 people, we get about 5 to 7. Out of those 5 to 7 people, then we do the actual,
Test clean.
the first job or the test clean. And only 2 to 3 people show up. Out of 100 people, we have the stats from our
What's
team.
a test clean? A real client?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's a real
Okay.
client, sometimes it's a friend. It used to be our apartment where
Is
they
it
would
paid
just come.
cleaning?
Yeah,
Paid
we
clean.
pay
Yeah,
them
it's
for
our
that.
first job. They get paid for it.
But are you getting paid?
No.
No.
We're paying them.
We're paying them to
As
go
if
do the
they're
job
first job.
because
So
we
It's a
want to
free-
see them.
It's a free cleaning to whoever's getting the cleaning.
Yes,
Exactly.
Okay,
correct.
got it. Cool.
But it's our way of doing a initial, in-person interview, if
Yeah.
you will. But
Yeah.
they're just going to do a job. And like I said, we're just making sure of those things that they said. Are they showing up on time? How are they dressed? How can they communicate? What supplies do they have? What are they using? So that's what we look for in the test clean.
So yeah, out of those 100 people, we're talking about 2 to 3 people max that actually show up for that first job. So by the time they actually get their real job, they already showed up. Everybody else who didn't show up,
They've done the work.
yeah. So
If they made it that far, more than likely
that's
they're going
our
to make it
biggest. That's the part that takes the most work. The hiring process.
through. Yeah.
How long is that cycle? 100 people? Is that a month?
can be-
usually about a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when she'll go through the interview, usually about 25 a week, we'll have a conversation. At least that part of the process, it'll be like about $100 a month, and she'll give us the stats every single month. And it's normally most people don't even make that first part.
Okay.
Yeah.
And right now, at the current state of your business, are you guys doing some of those still? Like, is that what you guys are spending most of your time doing?
No.
Okay.
We don't.
What do you
we
guys
don't-
spend most of your time doing right now?
Most of our time is done, like I said, we meet with our team an hour a week. So most of the time is really going over stats and numbers and marketing budget and
Sometimes we'll talk about customer complaints.
Yeah.
Not customer complaints, but which cleaner has been having the most issues. So we're talking about turnover.
yeah.
So is that a group meeting or a one-on-one?
A group, it will be us two and then our operations manager and then our other, like our VA lead, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll do like a team meeting, maybe like once a quarter with just the entire staff, which is
Yeah.
really like 5-6 people.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. How do you, okay, we talked about hiring remote teams. I am still a little curious on that. Do you guys use, well, you said you've been using a lot of Indeed lately.
ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Housekeeper, those are the major
Okay.
ones.
Okay, cool. What about automations? Like, let's talk about that a little bit. How do you, because you do have remote staff that can do a lot of this stuff, but you have you mentioned Zapier earlier. What else? I'm curious, anything else that helps you guys reduce manpower?
So like we use something called Tidy Track, which also helps with the automations of the emails and the text if we want to send a blast, that type of stuff.
Okay.
It also kind of puts the clients into a funnel, if you will. So if they don't book, then they get like a 14-day sequence of us sending messages to them.
Okay.
So it's a lot of automation in that regards where we don't have to have people constantly reach out at this
Yeah.
point. And then Our other system where we use for our CRM is Lawn 27, where people kind of book on there, and that's how they find us on the website, that type of stuff. So those are more automated ways. I don't know what else you would say that we use.
Those are the major ones.
Those are the major
Zapier
ones.
Zapier is just an automation connector between the launch or the Tidy Track or anything else. Emails we do convert. Well, we do Tidy Track, which sends our emails out. But you can use MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, any of those.
Okay.
So those are the major platforms that we use for the automations.
Correct.
Okay. I'm curious what you guys think about like the future. There's the gig economy where so many people now, their primary work income is from being a subcontractor for you guys and being a sub over here and doing side hustles, all that kind of stuff, which allows companies like you to thrive as well because you can utilize them. It's a good relationship. Is that the way it's going? I mean, do you see this trend continuing into the future?
Yeah, I would say the pandemic changed a lot of things for people.
That's true.
We all want more time and we all want more flexibility. And I think that's what the biggest change out of the last couple of years has been. So you're seeing a lot of companies now, they're just like, we're going to work with people who just want to do a few jobs here and there and don't want to sit in the office full time or don't want to work for anyone full time. They want to kind of manage their time, manage their money, and just manage their lifestyle the way they want. So I personally see it not changing anytime soon.
And it's also, I would say, like things like Thumbtack and TaskRabbit, they are what we do on a way bigger scale,
Right, exactly.
They just have contractors on there that you book for whatever service you want. Come do the job. They get a percentage. The contractor gets a percentage, and that's it. But just on a way bigger scale from what we do. Same thing like Uber and Airbnb. Like we always say that. We reference that all the time. Like Airbnb doesn't own any home. Uber doesn't own any cars. We don't own any cleaning supplies. It's the same exact thing.
Except the ones under our sink.
Well, yes. But it's the same process. And so I just see those companies continuing to grow. I don't see Uber or Lyft or anything going anywhere anytime soon, at least.
Yeah.
And so the same thing for us, as long as there's buildings and as long as there's homes, we continue to see this growing even more and more.
Janilka, Anthony, this is great. I'm going to summarize what we talked about in 3 actionable steps here. Number 1 is you need to have clear standard operating procedures and train your staff on how to use those SOPs to respond to things so you don't have to jump in. Number 2 is you need to have clear pricing. It needs to be on your website. It needs to be super clear and so that your staff and your clients can follow it and respond to it. And number 3 is hire remote staff. And this is really true for any business, not just remote business, but start to take advantage of remote staff from anywhere in the world and your business will be better for it. Thanks for being here, guys. That was great.
Thank you for having us.
How do people find out more about you?
Yeah, so you can find us on YouTube, Instagram at The Hartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Or you can check out our podcast, More Than a Side Hustle, where we help 9-to-5ers create more impact, income, and influence outside their jobs.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys being here. This was really insightful, inspiring, and I think you guys are doing a really good job. I think you're making a big difference in the marketplace. So I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank
you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening. I hope you heard something that will make your business more profitable and more efficient and more remote. I'm your host, Adam Sylvester. You can find me at adamsylvester.com. Your team and your clients deserve your very best, so go give it to them.